Okay. State your name.
My name is AnjelicaChazarro.
And what class are you in?
I am New Voices class of 2006.
Woo! Woo. What are you doing professionally at this time?
At this time, I'm still working with the organization that I had my fellowship with. It's called the Northwest Immigrant Rights Project, or NIRP.
Okay.
And I am a staff attorney at the organization. I work primarily with the domestic violence unit, so I represent people who are survivors of domestic violence and other crimes in trying to obtain immigration status based on the fact that they were survivors of violence.
Okay.
So that's probably 60 or 70% of the folks I work with are folks in that situation. I also represent folks who are in removal or deportation proceedings, who are basically facing expulsion from the U.S. And trying to help them stay in the country. And then I also do some policy and advocacy work with my organization around kind of public education and kind of dispelling immigration myths with community members, so that folks aren't taken advantage of, because there is so much bad immigration representation out there. Mm-hmm. Trying to educate the community on bills that are coming up or not coming up, whatever the case may be. And my organization also supports policy work and advocacy organizing work that's happening by being kind of a legal arm of that. I also do some impact litigation work, which has been great, which I started as part of my fellowship, assisting my mentor, who's a big litigator, so suing the government basically for doing illegal things, most recently suing the government for holding a U.S. citizen in immigration detention for 7 months, and actually ordering that person deported based solely on racial profiling, and kind of getting the government to change their practices around that. Then I just recently started teaching, so this is something that started after the fellowship, but which the fellowship really set me up for. So last fall I taught poverty law at the local law school, and this fall I'll be teaching immigration law. And that's kind of what I'm most excited about right now, because it brings together so much of what I've been doing and kind of the ideas that I've had doing kind of the direct representation and trying to teach a new generation of lawyers to lawyer and think about lawyering and what it means to be a lawyer in a new and different way. So.
Wow. That sounds really exciting and amazing.
Thanks.
Envious. If you could do anything you wanted with your career other than run away or retire, what would that be?
That's a hard one.
Sounds like you're already doing the good stuff.
Yeah, I'm doing stuff I'm very excited about right now. But more and more I feel like, especially a lot of the direct legal representation work I do is triage, and I think it is important for our communities to survive, until the revolution comes about. But I also feel that there isn't that much space for kind of doing visioning work and imagining what the world could look like, and what, if we're saying no more prisons, then what does community accountability look like? If I'm saying no immigration enforcement, then what does open borders look like in practice? So ideally, I'd love to be able to take some time and kind of have like a radical think tank of some sort, and bring together like folks from New Voices and folks from different communities, and be able to give them the time and space to think about what it is that the alternatives actually are. Because I think in terms of doing organizing work and advocacy work, so much of what I'm doing is focused on just kind of stemming the tide of hate and of racism and of deportations, but not necessarily in building the kind of, the kind of future that I think that folks could have in this country. So ideally, I'd love to be able to have time to write and think, and give other people the space to kind of write and think, and kind of come up with these models of what a different world could look like.
Yeah, so moving away from constant crisis management.
Yeah. I feel like right now a lot of what I do is crisis management, which is necessary, and I feel like as an attorney I have those skills, and those are the skills I can give my community. But it's difficult to always be in that crisis management mode, so I'd love to be able to step away from that. And I think a little bit of what I'm trying to do through teaching is that, but even then it's another kind of work, but it's still not kind of the visionary work. It's just opening people, young attorneys to the idea that they could be visionaries.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what do you like to do for fun?
For fun, I mean, I moved out to Seattle for my fellowship, and I had been in New York, and I moved out there because the organization was there, and because my partner wanted to be closer to nature, and I had never really considered myself like a nature person. I was like, sure, well, we'll move out there if nature's important to you, whatever. And this amazing organization was there, and I got this fellowship to work there. But for fun and kind of rejuvenation, I've really discovered being outside as something that's amazing for me. So a lot of hiking, camping, kayaking, so things like that. So just the amazing beauty of the Pacific Northwest. It doesn't sound like a freaking commercial, but it's gorgeous, and it's really something to be able to leave the city. We probably spend at least one weekend a month away from Seattle, to be able to do that affordably and be able to get outside the city and be in surroundings like this is really what's kept me going.
Cool.
Yeah.
You want to answer another question?
Sure.
What is the most important insight or lesson learned from the fellowship?
Oh, that's a tough one. I don't know. I mean, I feel like for me the fellowship really battled the isolation that I felt, especially coming from law school, where I felt that law school in many ways was an experience that really tore me down, and I feel like New Voices in many ways built me back up. So just that feeling of like I'm not alone and I'm not crazy. Like other people see the world the way that I do, and there are enough of us, even though we might be spread out. There is a movement, and that there are. I feel like a lot of my political education happened through New Voices and kind of learning about the different movements that there are and the different strategies for moving social justice forward. So it's hard to like pinpoint one lesson, but just kind of meeting the folks that I've met have very much become kind of my community. And so I would say that's like kind of what I drew with it, and kind of battling that sense of isolation was huge.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Sure.